Hello and welcome to Rauta's Black Metal Reviews. This time we go to Norway some 3 years ago, so 2021 release by two different bands on a split. This is Kirkebrann or Visegard, so two bands in Norwegian language. Kirkebrann means church burning, arson, church arson really. Visegard, I'm not sure how it translates. What makes this curious is that the band names are put together for an album name, Kirkegard. Kirke means church and Gard, if I'm not mistaken, means yard or, yard I guess is the pretty much a churchyard, roughly. This is my, guess really. An educated guess, if you will. Anyway, this is a split through Odium Records, so 2021. Why so late to the party is that, I have this box of review albums that came very late to the review pile, and those which have not arrived within 3 months of their release date just go to the eternal pile of review albums. Means they will be eventually picked up, but only when the more recent ones are done. Some might say it's not fair, but I prefer that when music is... God damn, this booklet is tight. When the review albums are sent in timely fashion, it's more, I'd say timely fashion is very, very important about release date. That's how it serves the audience, the bands, etc. more fairly. Anyhow, enough of this disclaimer nonsense. Let's focus on the album in question. As you can see, this is a nice looking non-glossy digipack with kind of a thick booklet going through the lyrics, and as you can see here, Norwegians. However, there's some English words said where blasphemers and heathens unite. So all in all, let's go back to Norway like 1990s never left the building, and here we are with these two Norwegian bands, of which I will show you in members wise as well, because you might learn a thing or two. Always, in my opinion, very, very interesting to know a little bit of the background. So here we are with the Kirkebrann first. This was founded already 20 years ago, 2004. However, never got quite the attraction, or never made it that big in terms of coming from Norway, black metal being big and all. And there are a couple of reasons. First of all, never been that active band. It took 9 years for them to make the debut album in 2013. And then the second album actually this year, Mot Drellens för Fall, which I haven't heard. Came through Hellstein Productions. I don't even know the label, so probably fell off the promotional wagon in that respect. So as you can see here, Kirkegard came in 2021, so in the middle of the road in terms of these two albums. Now, I previously heard one release by Kirkebrann. It's this Deus in Versus split that came a year before Kirkegard, and that was already a good thing. Now, talking about members, this is worth showing you. As you can see, while not being exactly a supergroup, this is very much tied to other bands in a Norwegian black metal scene. For example, here is a Djevelkult live member. Here you have one member who is active both in Visegard and Kirkebrann, as well as, say, Carpathian Forest. You have also a Dødheimsgard member and other smaller bands. Now, if you take a Visegard side, then again, that's somewhat newer, but already from 2007. And one album out, that was 10 years ago, 2014. So once again, two bands that have never been too active, more on the side, if you will, if not necessarily side project live. So this one is from Skien, and this one is Vestfold Telemark, which means they're not from the so-called bigger scenes from Norway, which are mostly, as far as I could say, Oslo and obviously Bergen and Trondheim in a way. And of course there are other places, but let's go with these three, which are probably the key points to a lot of Norwegian scene back in the days and still. But both bands are playing black metal on this split, and they are doing nice, collaborating with one another. What is curious is that Visegard actually has a Kirkebrann cover on the end of the album. And this lasts for almost 1 hour. That's quite a lot to digest, so really worth your money if you like the music. Both are playing very traditional second wave black metal, very grim, very Norwegian-like, and it's not exactly surprising. Neither of them are playing super fast, so this is not your typical Norse scores in the sense of, let's go blast beats and grim, immortal-like riffing and all that stuff. Then again, there is nothing folky, nothing proggy, so if you're thinking about bands like, say, Octors or Borknagar, forget all about it. There's nothing progressive about this, or avant-garde-ish, or anything that like. Nothing is exactly super technical, so nothing is also very raw. So it's in that sense, it's kind of a middle of the road black metal. But coming from Norway and knowing the roots and the background, I gotta say this is actually one of the better ones coming from 2000s Norway. Why better is that obviously the golden age of Norwegian black metal. This goes very, very much back in the 90s, early 90s rather than the late ones. Well, obviously there are nowadays some quite promising, some really good bands too, so it's not like Norwegian black metal scene is dead, quite the contrary, but it's very, very different obviously these days than, say, some 1995. 2000s, or more like 2020s, when this album, let's call it album, because it's album, even split, came out. The territory, the scene, everything is quite different. And obviously, there are so many bands that are so much more active. So it's hard for these kind of bands, which are not the most active in, making records or, touring or whatnot, to really rise up to the challenge and say, we are here, we're going to keep the tradition, the flame burning and all. But I must say, this is actually a good split. It's nothing outstanding, so let's remove the word great when I'm going to explain why I like this. But I mean, this is so much, going back to the roots in a way that it's kind of a refreshing when there's so many bands going either dissonant or very modern with their takes, or going a little bit hybrid, that is either going death black or some progressive or avant-garde-ish or dissonant this, dissonant that, whatever. This is more like, fuck that shit, let's go back to like 1996, Never Left the Building, and go there. And what makes this even more interesting is that both bands are actually good and keeping up the tradition. Now, obviously, because it's a split, I always have to, be this asshole and say which one is better, which is more my liking. Even if there are lots of splits where, two bands are very, very much like one another. Like, it's hard to pick the winner. But you have to be that guy who say, you get the gold medal and you get the silver. In this case, in my opinion, Kirkebrann wins. It's not like the difference or in music or quality is big, but it's more like if you have that one coin and you can put it only one horse. This is my bet. You're gonna give it only to one, competitor here. So in my case, it goes Kirkebrann. But basically, both are so good that if you like one, you're gonna like the other as well. So in that sense, the split is very much worth owning if you like either of the band, either previous ones or in this case, one or the other. But like I said, nothing new is really happening here. Vocal-wise, production-wise, songwriting-wise, everything is solid. This is just a kind of a typical 4-star album that is very, very easy to like. But if you're looking at individual tracks or high points or what that, I'm like, not really. I just like the first half of the album a little bit more than towards the end. But like I said, I really can't put Visegard down here because it's not like there's like the first half is good and the second is just like, oh, okay. Both are good, and that makes, in my opinion, these 60 minutes of an album called good. 4 stars solid. So if you have not get overdone, if you're not bored with Norwegian traditional black metal from the 90s and you want your new dose of that, this is a very good place to start checking out some bands that are newer, even if not new anymore. So off you go. Links provided in the description box. Go and enjoy.